100 days living with a corpse in a remote villa under the shadow of a vengeful spirit. The film begins by introducing an extraordinarily devoted husband named Chiv. However, Chiv has just lost his wife, Luntam, who passed away due to a chronic illness she had suffered from for a long time. In the eyes of everyone around him, Chiv is seen as a hero, the man who faithfully stayed by Luntam's side during her final moments. He never gave up and swore that he would love his wife forever. It is a beautiful love story that tragically comes to an end.
วันที่พี่หมดสติในทุกลมหายใจของผม
Yet after Luntam's death, Chiv's true nature slowly begins to reveal itself in an unexpected way. Not long after his wife's passing, it is uncovered that Chiv has been having an affair with a woman named Rasukan, or simply Ross. For additional context, Ross is one of the employees at the company owned by the late Luntam. Long story short, after Luntam's funeral is over, Chiv invites Ross to stay with him at a villa located in a remote area. Chiv claims that he has a surprise he wants to show Ross. The villa is described as a hidden paradise, a place where they can start a new life together. Ross, blinded by love and Chiv's sweet promises, immediately agrees. They travel together to the remote area where the villa is located, passing through forests and isolated villages far away from the noise of the city.
ใช่ค่ะ
แต่ก็ไม่รู้ว่า
พี่อิจฉาเขามากเลยค่ะใครกันนะผู้ชายคนนั้น
As they pass through one village, they encounter a shaman who stares at them with an unsettling gaze. But at the time, Chiv pays no attention to it. He keeps driving until they finally arrive at a luxurious and beautiful villa deep in the forest, where Chiv tells Ross that this place is proof of his love for her. The first night in the dream villa becomes a romantic evening for Chiv and Ross. Ross, who comes from a poor family, feels extremely happy living in such a luxurious place. While they are relaxing, Ross and Chiv notice a shaman performing a ritual right in front of the villa, and Chiv immediately drives the shaman away for disturbing their comfort. Before going to sleep, Ross decides to take a bath in the bathtub, but this is where strange events begin to occur. The ghostly figure of Luntam suddenly appears and causes Ross to experience overwhelming terror. That night, Ross wakes up and realizes that Chiv is no longer beside her. Filled with fear, she tries to search every corner of the dark and unfamiliar house. A door leading to a small cottage in the backyard opens by itself, and there, Ross finds the answer to the terror she has just experienced. Inside the cottage, there is a glass coffin, and inside it lies Luntam's corpse, preserved by being frozen with a special device to prevent rapid decay. Ross's mental state instantly collapses as she realizes that the man she loves has been keeping his wife's dead body. Panicking, Chiv tries to explain everything to Ross. It is revealed that the reason Chiv keeps his wife's body and stays there is part of a condition stated in Luntam's will. According to the will, Chiv can obtain all of his late wife's inheritance on one condition, which is that he must live together with Luntam's corpse for 100 days, and if he fails to fulfill this condition, all of the inheritance will be forfeited. Shifting to the past, it is revealed that before Luntam's death, Chiv's affair with Ross had already been discovered by Luntam. She accidentally catches them in the act at Chiv's office, leaving her deeply hurt and unable to believe what she has seen. The man she has loved all this time, the man she believed would never betray her, turns out to be capable of cheating behind her back. Luntam is completely shattered by the discovery, especially since she is a beautiful, extremely wealthy woman who truly loves Chiv. Yet despite knowing the truth, Luntam foolishly chooses to accept it and give Chiv a second chance. She even ends up blaming herself, feeling that she has many shortcomings as Chiv's wife. Because of this, she promises to fix everything. In an effort to save her marriage, Luntam takes Chiv to a luxurious villa, the very same villa that is now occupied by Chiv and Ross.
ที่มั่นคงและแข็งแรงเป็นครอบครัวที่อบอุ่นและสมบูรณ์
นี่บ้านใครครับ
Luntam presents the villa as a symbol of a new beginning, a place meant for only the two of them. With great hope, she also points to a frangipani tree in front of the house, declaring that the tree will become a symbol of their strong and everlasting love. Returning to the present, the days Ross spends in the villa are filled with increasingly intense supernatural disturbances. Luntham's ghost does not merely appear anymore, but begins to interact physically. One day in the kitchen, an invisible force suddenly grabs Ross's hand and forces her to point a knife at her own hand. Her body becomes completely immobilized, but fortunately Chiv manages to snap her back to her senses. The supernatural terror continues into her dreams. Every night, Ross feels cold hands crawling over her body and covering her mouth, causing her to wake up in panic. She tries to convince Chiv that Luntham's ghost truly exists in the house, but Chiv always denies it and, while comforting Ross, insists that everything she is experiencing is nothing more than hallucinations. The longer Ross stays in the villa, the worse her mental condition becomes. Ross begs Chiv to leave the house for a while, but Chiv refuses, and the true fact hidden in Luntham's will is finally revealed. It turns out that the will is addressed to both of them, and if either one leaves the villa, the entire inheritance will be forfeited. This is the main reason why Chiv brought Ross to live with him in the villa. Ross immediately feels deceived and questions Chiv's intentions, wondering whether he truly loves her or merely wants Luntham's inheritance. Chiv does not pretend and honestly admits both. He truly loves Ross, but at the same time he desperately needs Luntham's inheritance. Chiv then persuades Ross to endure staying there with him a little longer for the sake of their future.
หมายความว่าไงคะ
ถ้าเกิดว่ารถไม่อยู่ทุกอย่างมันก็จบนะ
The story then shifts back again to a time when Luntham was still alive. At that point, Luntham's condition had begun to worsen. A doctor explains to Chiv that Luntham is suffering from a strange illness, one that causes her to fall into deep sleep for days without any clear cause, and that her condition could become fatal at any moment. In the midst of Luntham's suffering, Ross boldly comes to their house, demanding Chiv's attention. Meanwhile, inside the bedroom, Luntham, who appears to be asleep, is actually still conscious. Although her body cannot move, she can hear everything happening around her. A tear falls silently, bearing witness to the betrayal unfolding right before her eyes. When her condition temporarily improves, Luntham confronts Ross and gives her a stern warning to stay away from her marriage, threatening that Ross will face far worse consequences if she refuses. However, Ross responds with a defiant attitude, convinced that Chiv loves her more.
ถ้าไม่เลิกเนี่ยเธออาจจะตายก็ได้นะ มีอะไรหรือเปล่าคะ ออกไปจากชีวิตของเราซะ ไม่ใช่คำที่คุณควรมาบอกฉันนะคะ
Chiv, a man who has lost all sense of decency, continues his affair with Ross, leading to a fierce argument between him and Luntham. Exhausted both physically and mentally, Luntham questions what shortcomings she has had all this time. She has given everything to Chiv, never demanding anything from him, asking only for his loyalty, yet in return, Chiv betrays her. Instead of trying to fix the situation, Chiv behaves cruelly, stating that living with Luntham feels boring and suffocating. In the midst of the intense argument, Luntham's illness suddenly relapses. She collapses, her breathing becomes labored and her body is unable to move. Rather than helping his wife, Chiv simply stands still and watches as Luntham painfully breathes her last.
เราเลิกกันเถอะ เธอถึงเลิกมันไม่ได้ พี่ทำทุกอย่างเพื่อเราสองคน
ไปนอนก่อนนะพี่ผมไม่อยากทะเลาะผมบอกให้นะพี่ทำไมผมถึงเลือกเขาสั่งให้ผมอยู่ในโอวาท
Returning to the present, later that night while Ross and Chiv are relaxing, Luntham's ghost suddenly appears and physically attacks Ross, choking her until she nearly runs out of breath. The incident causes Ross to completely lose her patience, as her anger finally erupts. Ross runs toward the cottage and smashes the glass coffin, severely damaging the cooling device that preserves Luntham's body. Chiv quickly rushes in to stop Ross's actions. In her rage, Ross accuses Chief of caring only about Luntam's corpse, but Chief once again reminds her that everything he has done is for the sake of the inheritance. The next morning, when Chief leaves the house, Luntam's ghost becomes even bolder while Ross is alone. The spirit launches its most brutal physical attack on Ross. The unseen force kicks her, grabs her legs, and violently drags her across the floor. As Ross struggles to fight back, her hand is pierced by a nail on the stair railing, tearing her skin. It does not stop there, as the ghost grips Ross's face with inhuman strength until her teeth shatter before throwing her aside. Suddenly, the television in the room turns on by itself, displaying Luntam's figure walking inside the screen, as if breaking through dimensions to attack her directly. When Chief returns, he finds Ross in a state of panic and hysteria. Ross insists that she has just been brutally beaten by Luntam's ghost, but once again Chief dismisses everything as nothing more than Ross's hallucinations. In the days that follow, Ross lives on the edge of madness, beginning to hallucinate intensely, even once seeing Chief having intimate relations with Luntam's corpse inside the cottage. In desperation, Ross recklessly seeks help from a village shaman she had seen before to perform an exorcism ritual. The shaman begins the ritual by offering offerings and burning the frangipani tree, believed to be a medium connecting the ghost to the human world, and it proves partially successful as worms begin to emerge from Luntam's body. However, Chief, who witnesses the scene from a distance, becomes furious. He grabs his shotgun and forcibly drives the shamans away. At the peak of his rage, Chief declares that he is sick of guarding a corpse and that Ross is completely useless to him. Another intense argument erupts between them, causing Ross to finally decide to leave. Chief tries to stop her, begging through desperate tears for Ross not to go, until he ultimately makes a confession that shocks Ross herself. He deliberately let Luntam die so he could be with Ross. He pleads with Ross not to abandon him, saying that without her, all those sacrifices would be meaningless. Despite hearing the confession, Ross still leaves, but on her journey, she is overwhelmed by doubt and guilt, and Ross eventually decides to return to the villa. When she arrives at the villa, she finds Chief soaking in the bathtub with an empty stare. Ross tries to fix everything and apologizes to Chief, promising that they will face everything together. However, Ross does not yet realize that Chief is being possessed by Luntam's ghost. Ross sees Chief walking upstairs, and when Ross follows him, she sees Chief standing in the distance wearing Luntam's nightgown and attacking her with a knife. Chief, whose body is now controlled by the vengeful spirit of Luntam, relentlessly hunts Ross. In a mirror, the reflection that appears is not Chief's face, but Luntam's face, smiling coldly. Ross fights desperately, stabbing Chief's shoulder with a shard of glass and even shooting his leg with a shotgun, yet the body keeps moving, as if it feels no pain. The chase ends by the riverbank, where Chief catches Ross and brutally smashes her head against a rock until Ross is dying. Then Luntam's ghost says that she will not let Ross die so easily. Death is not the end for Ross, as her spirit becomes trapped in a supernatural dimension where Luntam continues to torture her endlessly. In a cold monologue, Luntam's ghost declares that this is the fate Ross must accept for taking what belonged to her. The final scene of the film shows Chief waking up inside a locked glass coffin together with Luntam's body, which has begun to rot. Chief screams and begs for someone to free him from the coffin, but everything is in vain because, in that remote villa, there is no one else but them. Meanwhile, the fluids from Luntam's decaying body slowly drip down from the coffin, falling directly onto Ross's body lying on the floor below. Now they are trapped in that place forever. It is then revealed that before Luntam died, she had already planned this entire revenge scenario. Luntam knew that Chief and Ross's affair would never stop, so she conspired with the shamans in the village to carry out the revenge she could not accomplish while she was alive. Luntam deliberately bought the remote villa and prepared it as a trap for the two of them. The will she created was nothing more than bait to lure Chief and Ross to that villa. Luntam realized that Chief and Ross were obsessed with her wealth. The shaman who performed rituals in front of the villa was meant to summon Luntam's ghost, filled with hatred and anger. In the end, Luntam's ghost succeeds in trapping the souls of Chief and Ross in that place forever, and the story comes to an end.